is diet, and this carbohydrate is diet. Carbohydrates will go to the stomach and intestine, will get digested, and after digestion what is going to happen is that we are going to get glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, and once you get this glucose, fructose and galactose, and that will be going to the stomach and intestine. Okay, and after going to the stomach and intestine, from there the glucose, fructose and galactose will be absorbed, and after absorption it is going to liver. In the liver, additional amount of glucose will be stored in the form of glycogen. The additional amount of glucose will be stored in the form of glycogen, and that is known as glycogenesis. And you know, if that is glycogen is breaking down back to glucose, that is known as glycogenolysis. Breakdown of glycogen back to glucose is glycogenolysis. Breakdown of glycogen back to glucose will be glycogenolysis. Lysis means breakdown. So the name of the pathway is very simple: glycogen formation, genesis, glycogen breakdown, glycogenolysis. And now what is going to happen after that? Additional amount of glucose will be stored there. Only the required amount of glucose will be going into the blood circulation, and via blood what will happen? The glucose will be distributed and the glucose will enter into the cells. Via the blood, what is going to happen? The blood glucose will be actually distributed, and finally it's going to into the cells. And you all know why the glucose will enter into the cells. Why? Because the glucose has to undergo metabolism, and at the end of the metabolism what will happen? Glucose is going to produce energy in the form of ATP. Okay, and that is what which is used for our day-to-day work that we are doing right now. I'm teaching here, you're listening here, so for all our day-to-day work we need energy, and that energy is obtained by metabolism of glucose inside the cell ke andar. But now before moving ahead guys, one small problem here right now. Glucose being a very large molecule, it cannot enter into the cell directly, so we need a special transporter here right now, and the name of the transporter will be GLUT, the glucose transporter. So first what we'll do here is that we'll learn about the glucose transporters first guys, and after learning about the glucose transporter, okay, then we'll enter inside the cell and see what is happening inside the cell. So please write on the heading there as the glucose transporter. Please write on the heading there as the glucose transporter. Okay, now we can divide the glucose transporters in our body into two categories, and these two categories will be like sodium independent glucose transporter, and then next one will be the sodium dependent glucose transporter. Sodium independent, sodium dependent. And the sodium independent glucose transporter, we can just name them as GLUT. It's like glucose transporter. Whereas sodium independent, we can name them as SGLT. S for sodium dependent and GL for glucose transporter. Fine. So glucose transporters we can divide into two categories, that is sodium independent and sodium dependent glucose transporter. First let us deal with this one guys, the sodium independent one. So please make a table in your book, write down the name of the glucose transporter, and the second one you write down the location of the glucose transporter, and the third we'll write down some special feature of that. Okay, so let us learn about all the glucose transporter. Make a table with 3 columns in your books. Now in the first column we are going to write down the name of the glucose transporter, GLUT1 and then GLUT3, GLUT1 and GLUT3, GLUT1 and 3. Okay, so these glucose transporters are of many types, and thank God doctors have given like simple name, GLUT1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. We are going to learn one by one, sir. Now remember this GLUT1 and 3 I want you to learn together. Why? Because location, they are mainly located on the brain and they are located on the RBCs guys. Both are important. Brain is important for our complete functioning, RBC is important for carrying the oxygen. And recently asked question in the MC exam was on the placenta. So on the placenta, placenta you'll be having the GLUT1 and 3. So GLUT1 and 3 will be located on the brain and the RBC and the placenta. And what is the special feature of this one guys? The special feature is GLUT1 and 3 is concerned with basal uptake of glucose. GLUT 1 and 3 is concerned with basal uptake of glucose. GLUT 1 and 3, it is concerned with the basal uptake of glucose. Now what is the meaning of basal uptake of glucose? It's very simple, that these two transporters guys, GLUT 1 and 3, these two transporters, they are having the ability to attract the glucose even during hypoglycemia. See, common sense here, brain and RBC, they always require glucose, है ना? ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता है कि in our body we are having like less amount of glucose at that time we can just say to the brain that we are having less amount of glucose and just manage with this one here. So we cannot say like that, है ना? So brain and RBC, they always require glucose. So even when there is less amount of glucose in our body, hypoglycemia, at that time also what is going to happen, guys? Yes, we are going to take up the glucose. Who is going to attract the glucose? 1 and 3, and that ability is known as basal uptake of glucose. So what is the meaning of basal uptake of glucose? Its ability to attract glucose even during hypoglycemia. So even when we are having less amount of glucose in our body, even when there is less amount of glucose in our body, 1 and 3, GLUT 1 and 3 will attract the glucose and give it to our brain and RBC, क्योंकि उनको हमेशा ग्लूकोज चाहिए, ठीक है ना? And they have to work continuously. Okay जी. And recently asked question in the MCI exam, take care about the placenta. On the placenta also will be having what's a GLUT 1 and 3. Okay, done. Now after that, continue the table and now write down there, guys. Okay. Now we are going to learn about the GLUT 2. GLUT 2 location, it will be located number 1 on the liver, and the GLUT 2 transporters will be located number 2 on the kidney, and the GLUT 2 transporters also located on the beta cells of pancreas. Okay, in the liver, kidney and the beta cells of pancreas. You have to memorize the location. So GLUT 2 will be present on the liver, beta cells of kidney and beta cells of pancreas. And remember, what is the function of GLUT 2? Just think about the liver. Hello everyone. Just think about the liver. Just now I told you the glucose will enter into the liver and glucose will even come out of the liver. है ना? मैंने आपको अभी बताया. Glucose will enter into the liver and glucose can even come out of the liver. मैंने आपको अभी बताया था. It's going to enter the liver and come out of the liver. And now, my dear friends, when the glucose is entering the liver and coming out of the liver, yes, just think about the liver cells. Liver cells. Just think more deeper into the liver cells. Liver cells will be having the transporter here right now, and this transporter is allowing the glucose to enter inside the liver, inside the cells, and this transporter is allowing the glucose to even come out of the cells. That means the transporter has got the ability of two-way movement of glucose. Two-way. So I always advise my students to remember with GLUT 2. GLUT 2 will help in, GLUT 2 transporters will help in the glucose to enter the cell as well as the glucose to come out of the cell. So therefore, write down the special feature. It allows both entry and exit. I mean to say the release of glucose. So GLUT 2 transporters will be allowing both entry as well as the release of glucose. So remember, GLUT 2 will be present on the liver, the kidney and the beta cells of the pancreas. Done. So till now we have completed GLUT 1, GLUT 2 and GLUT 3. 1, 2 and 3 done. And now let us go towards the GLUT 4, guys. And now my dear friends, GLUT 4. GLUT 4 now GLUT 4 will be extremely important. It allows everywhere, guys. Okay, GLUT 4 is very much important. Why? Because number 1, it is present in skeletal muscle, and number 2, it is not only present on skeletal muscle, even on the adipocytes and even on the heart. So now remember, GLUT 4 is the only one which is the insulin dependent transporter. It is the insulin dependent transporter. ठीक है, insulin dependent transporter. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? What is the meaning of that one? Yes, The meaning of this one will be only in the presence of insulin only it will allow the glucose to enter inside the skeletal muscles and all. So for example, if this is your skeletal muscle here right now guys, the skeletal muscle on the surface of that you'll be having GLUT4, and the GLUT4 number will increase only in the presence of which hormone? Insulin hormone. तो इंसुलिन का हार्मोन का ज़रूरी होता है कि दे शुड बी प्रेजेंट and they are going to increase the number of GLUT4 transporters on the surface. And because the number of GLUT4 transporters is increased on the surface, then what is going to happen? Automatically the glucose will enter into the skeletal muscle, and the same is the case with the adipocytes also. So for that glucose, more amount of the glucose to enter inside the skeletal muscle and adipocytes and heart and all, we require insulin. So this is the only one which is insulin dependent transporter. That is why it is very much important for your exams. So I repeat again, GLUT4 is present on adipocytes, skeletal muscle and heart, and for transporting the glucose inside you require insulin. That is why insulin dependent transporter. Next one, let us study about the GLUT5 now, sir. GLUT5. GLUT5, they will be present on spermatozoa, the sperm cells, and the GLUT5 is present on the testes also, and not only that, on the intestines. And now more than this, the important thing will be, which is already asked in the MCA exam, it transports fructose. Please write this in bold and clear letters, and please remember that. So GLUT5, it will be helping in the transport of what guys? Transport of fructose. So what is the name given? Name of the transporter is glucose transporter, but it is helping in transport of what's a fructose. And why? Because that fructose is the one which will be utilized by the spermatozoa, the testes, okay. The sperm cells, like all other cells in our body, they depend on glucose for the energy. But remember, the spermatozoa cells has the ability to utilize the fructose. They'll be utilizing fructose. So अगर मान लो कि spermatozoa cell है, तो इसके ऊपर जो ट्रांसपोर्टर होगा वो GLUT5 होगा, और एक GLUT5 किसको ट्रांसपोर्ट करेगा? फ्रक्टोज को ट्रांसपोर्ट करेगा. एग्जाम में कंफ्यूजन क्या होगा ड्यूरिंग द एग्जाम? यस, द नेम इज एक्चुअली ग्लूकोज ट्रांसपोर्टर, बट व्हाट इट इज ट्रांसपोर्टिंग सर? फ्रक्टोज. सो प्लीज टेक केयर अबाउट दैट. That has been already asked in the MCA exam. Clear? And once you are done with the GLUT5 guys, the last and final one that you have to learn here is that we don't have GLUT6, directly we are having like GLUT7 right now, sir. And GLUT7, only one point to remember, it is present on endoplasmic reticulum. GLUT5 will be present on endoplasmic reticulum of liver cells. That's a special feature about that. It's not on the surface of the cell, it's actually inside the cell. Inside the cell, it is on the endoplasmic reticulum of the liver cells, guys. Is it okay? So these are the transporters you have to remember. And if you remember these many transporters, more than enough, sir. More than enough for your MCA exam. So GLUT1, GLUT3, and then we learn about 2, then 4, 5 and 7. That's all. If you look into your notes right now, I told you already that whatever GLUT is there, that is sodium dependent or sodium independent? Come on, are they sodium dependent or sodium independent? Yes, they are sodium independent. Very nice. And now let us see about the sodium dependent glucose transporters. Sodium dependent, we are going to write it that as SGLT1, and there will be SGLT2. That's also only two of them. There is one SGLT1. Nothing to worry about the feature, guys. There is nothing like feature for GLUT7. Nothing to write. Okay. Next one, SGLT1 and SGLT2. SGLT1 and SGLT2. ठीक है ना? Sodium dependent. SGLT1 will be present on the intestine, and SGLT2, this will be present on the kidney, guys. And obviously you can easily guess the feature of this one. SGLT1 on the intestine, what is helping in? It's helping in absorption of glucose. After digestion, जो भी glucose form होता है उसको absorb करने के लिए, absorption of glucose. But whereas on the kidney it's helping in reabsorption of glucose. Reabsorption of glucose on the kidney cell. It will be present on the PCT cells of the kidney cell, proximal converter tubule, inside the kidney in the PCT cells. I think आपने physiology पढ़ा होगा. In the physiology, nephron, then we'll be having the proximal convoluted tubule, then we'll be having loop of Henle, and then distal carotid tubule, and then you'll be having collecting duct, है ना? Now if you have learned a little bit in your lower classes and all, whatever blood is coming here, the blood will come here in the glomerulus and the blood will get filtered. In the filtration, many things, water, everything will be filtered, even glucose will be filtered, and that glucose has to be again taken back into the body. I cannot allow my glucose to be lost in urine, है ना जी? ग्लूकोज हमारे बॉडी के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, सो वी कैन नॉट अलाउ दैट टू बी लॉस्ट इन द यूरिन, सो देयरफॉर इट इज अगेन टेकन बैक. सो टेकिंग दैट ग्लूकोज अगेन बैक, रीअब्जॉर्प्शन, ठीक है. और यहाँ पर ट्रांसपोर्टर, और ट्रांसपोर्टर का नाम क्या है सर? SGLT2. तो SGLT2 विल बी प्रेजेंट ऑन द PCT, proximal convoluted tubule cells of the kidney, and they are helping in reabsorption of glucose. Done. हो गया. And these are the only two that you have to remember here, sir. That is about the glucose transporters. Are you all done? I'll give you 1 minute of time. Please revise all the glucose transporters, then we'll go ahead with the topic. Quickly revise the glucose transporters. Come on guys, हो गया? Are you all done? Ananya is asking, sir, does GLUT5 also help in absorption? Yes, GLUT5 also help in absorption of fructose on intestine. Ananya, GLUT5 also helps in absorption of fructose from the intestines. ठीक है? चल. If you are done with this revision of the glucose transporter here, now my dear friends, yes, everyone here, now my dear friends, I think, okay, if you are having this initial picture with you people, अगर ये वाला डायग्राम आपके साथ में है, yes, look at this diagram. Okay, you will understand slowly later on, अभी के लिए नहीं. Okay, Redmi करके पता नहीं किसका नाम है. Okay, whatever question you are asking, it is little bit in more depth guys. Okay, तो वो मैं आपको बाद में बताऊंगा. Whatever doubt is asked by Redmi right now, for that you first of all have to learn gluconeogenesis, formation of new glucose. ठीक है, तो मैं आपको बाद में बताऊंगा, तो तब आपको समझ में आएगा. ठीक है, चलिए अभी के लिए यहाँ पर देखिए सर, एवरीवन लुक हियर. तो वी हैव कंज्यूम्ड द फूड, डाइजेशन हो गया, वी गॉट ग्लूकोज, फ्रक्टोज, गैलेक्टोज, अब्जॉर्प्शन हो गया, इट कम टू लिवर, फ्रॉम द लिवर इनटू ब्लड, एंड नाउ फ्रॉम द ब्लड इट हैज टू एंटर इनटू द सेल. And when it has to enter inside the cell, you need a transporter. About the glucose transporter, we have learned in detail all different types of transporter. ठीक है ना? तो चलिए सर, अब हम लोग मिलकर, now together, see, I'm taking you like step by step. Digestion, absorption, then transport. After transport, entering into the cell. Now after entering inside the cell, yes, inside the cell, what is going to happen? Let's see, right? चलिए, transporter हो गया. Let's see inside the cell. Now to understand like what is happening inside the cell, first of all let me give you the entire picture guys. So what I will do is here, I'll give you a complete picture of this one first. So please write down the heading there as overview, and this overview is actually extremely important. Listen carefully. पहले ना हम overview पढ़ते हैं. तो मान लो कि this one will be your cell membrane. So this is like our cell membrane. This is all like cell. Okay. This is like outside the cell and this is inside the cell. Now outside the cell, what you have here, just now came the glucose, and this glucose will enter inside the cell, sir. We are at this level right now. And how the glucose is going to enter inside the cell? With the help of a glucose transporter. So I'll just write down here as GLUT. And just now we studied in detail about the glucose transporters. तो वो वाला कहानी हो गया. After that, now the glucose will enter inside the cell. अब हम देखते हैं सेल के अंदर क्या होता है. Inside the cell, the glucose will undergo certain reactions. Glucose will undergo certain reactions, and after undergoing certain reactions, it is going to become what's a pyruvate. Okay. Can anyone tell me what is the name of this pathway? What is the name of this pathway? Glucose to pyruvate. Yes, your favorite one. It is actually glycolysis. Okay, glycolysis. But remember, glucose is getting converted to pyruvate only and only in the presence of oxygen. अगर oxygen होगा, तो we are going to get pyruvate. If there is oxygen available, then only we are going to get pyruvate. Otherwise, no pyruvate. Something else I'll tell you later on. So therefore, don't tell glycolysis from today onwards, guys. Tell it as aerobic glycolysis. So let's become like excellent doctors. Aerobic glycolysis. So glucose will undergo certain reactions to become what's a pyruvate. Okay, glucose will undergo certain reactions to become what? Pyruvate, and this pathway is known as aerobic glycolysis. Now please don't even think in your mind that we are done with glycolysis. Heading देखो, heading क्या लिखा था मैंने? Overview. I'm just giving you a glance. ठीक है? So today later on we are going to study in detail about glycolysis. अभी के लिए just the complete picture. Now I want to add few more things here only, sir. Try to understand this here itself. We are going to begin with one molecule of glucose, but then we are going to form two molecules of pyruvate. In glycolysis, we are going to begin with one molecule of glucose, and at the end there will be two molecules of pyruvate. I think every one of you knows the formula of glucose. What is the formula of glucose, guys? Formula of glucose will be C6H12O6, है ना? C6H12O6. Very good, very good. So how many number of carbons do you have in glucose? 6 carbon. And how many number of carbons will be there in pyruvate? There will be totally like 3 carbons. You know, 3 carbon होते हैं. ठीक है? So glucose has got 6 carbon and pyruvate has got 3 carbon. Can you please tell me right now the important question? In glycolysis, glucose to pyruvate. In glycolysis, glucose to pyruvate, how many number of carbons are lost? How many number of carbons are lost? Absolutely correct, 0. Okay. Why? Because you can clearly see here right now, guys, glucose has got like totally 6 carbons and pyruvate has got like 3 carbons here. But remember, there are how many molecules of pyruvate? 2 molecules of pyruvate. So there are totally 6. So there is no loss of carbon in glycolysis. Chalo. So this much information is more than enough right now. Okay, about glycolysis. I repeat again, what is glycolysis? Sir? Conversion of glucose to pyruvate. How many number of glucose? 1. How many molecules of pyruvate? 2. How many number of carbons? 6. How many number of carbons in pyruvate? 3. Achha, by the way, where is this glycolysis taking place, sir? Glycolysis is taking place inside the cytosol. We are just inside the cell and in the cytosol. Now we all know in the cytosol there are so many cell organelles, and now our pyruvate is going to enter into one of the cell organelle, and this cell organelle here will be your mitochondria, outer membrane, inner membrane. Now once this pyruvate will enter into mitochondria here right now, guys, inside the mitochondrial matrix, the pyruvate is now going to get converted to acetyl-CoA. Okay. Pyruvate gets converted to acetyl-CoA. And now pyruvate has got like totally like 3 carbons. And remember, acetyl-CoA has got exactly 2 carbons. There are exactly 2 carbons in acetyl-CoA. And my dear friends, don't think that this reaction is like, like some pathway or something like that. No, it's not like a pathway. It's just one single reaction, only one single reaction. And this reaction, let us learn the name of the enzyme here only, sir. So what is the name of the enzyme here? The name of the enzyme here is very famously known as PDH complex, PDH. And PDH stands for pyruvate dehydrogenase. Okay, na? And nowadays this is extremely important for your MC exam. Why? Because last 2 exams they have given this question continuously, sir. 2 times, 2 questions has been given. मैं आपको later on बताऊंगा when I'll teach you in detail what was the question asked. But that is something important nowadays, PDH complex. And don't think that this is like a big, some pathway like glycolysis or something. Only one single reaction, guys. Pyruvate to acetyl CoA is one single reaction. That is why enzyme name here only completed. Okay. Now what is going to happen with the acetyl CoA? Acetyl CoA is going to combine along with a substance known as oxaloacetate. अब आपको कुछ याद आएगा what you have learned in your school days. And these two will combine together to form citrate. So oxaloacetate, how many number of carbons will be there? 4 carbon. That is going to join with acetyl CoA, how many carbon? 2 carbon. To form what? Citrate. Citrate, how many carbon? 6 carbon. And now certain reactions will take place here, and after undergoing certain reactions, it is going to form alpha ketoglutarate. Alpha ketoglutarate. Just wait a second, Bharat, I'll come back to that. Alpha ketoglutarate will be having like totally 5 carbons. Okay. And now this alpha ketoglutarate is now going to get converted to a substance known as succinyl CoA. And succinyl CoA, again vapas, it will be having again 4 carbons. And now this succinyl CoA will undergo certain reactions, and after undergoing certain reactions, it is going to form oxaloacetate back. Okay, so this is how you will be getting the oxaloacetate from Bharat. Okay, Bharat? And now I think this is like the very famous cycle. This is known as the Krebs cycle. इसी को हम कहते हैं Krebs cycle. Oh my God, समझ में आ रहा है? Are you getting me now? So this cycle is actually the Krebs cycle right now, guys. So what is going to happen in the Krebs cycle, guys? Acetyl CoA, how many carbon? 2 carbon. That is going to combine with oxaloacetate, how many carbon? 4 carbon. These two will combine together. Okay, I'm repeating here. Acetyl CoA 2 carbon combines with oxaloacetate 4 carbon. These two will combine to form citrate 6 carbon. And that citrate will undergo certain reaction to form alpha ketoglutarate 5 carbon. And that is again going to form succinyl CoA, how many carbons, sir? 4 carbon. And again it is going to convert back into oxaloacetate here. That is having again 4 carbons only. And that cycle will keep on happening again and again and again. वो चलता चला जाएगा. ठीक है जी. तो ये होता है Krebs cycle. ठीक है. So my dear friends, can you please tell me right now where is Krebs cycle taking place? Krebs cycle कहाँ पर हो रहा है? Hello, where is Krebs cycle taking place? Very good, very good. Don't only say mitochondria, say mitochondrial matrix. Inside the mitochondrial matrix, guys. ठीक है? Okay. So, अब एक काम करो sir. Now people do one thing here right now. You people just stop writing and look at the screen right now, sir. 1 second. Everyone please stop writing and look at the screen, sir. सब लोग screen पर देखिए. We have started with glucose. The first thing is glucose is getting converted to pyruvate, aerobic glycolysis. And now the pyruvate will enter into mitochondrial matrix, and pyruvate is getting converted to acetyl CoA with the help of the enzyme pyruvate dehydrogenase. I told you pyruvate to acetyl CoA does not belong to glycolysis, does not belong to Krebs cycle. Neither glycolysis, neither Krebs cycle. It is one single reaction in the middle. That's like an intermediate step. Intermediate step. ठीक है? It is neither of glycolysis, neither of Krebs cycle. Intermediate step. And after that, Krebs cycle will take place here right now. अब सब लोग ना ध्यान से सुनिए. The most important thing. Why am I teaching you all these things here? Hello. Why we have to learn this is whenever you are starting with like one molecule of glucose, if these 3 things will occur. अगर ये 3 चीजें होती है, if these 3 things will occur, that is aerobic glycolysis, PDH and Krebs cycle. If these 3 things will occur, it means that one molecule of glucose has been completely utilized. It means that one molecule of glucose has been completely utilized, completely metabolized. Is it okay? That's something important. And not only that, guys, I am teaching in a so conceptual manner. Now you will realize in most of the biochemistry classes what will happen, the biochemistry faculty will come directly write down glycolysis. Glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 6-phosphate, these, that, all reactions. And now students are like, what the hell, what's happening? From where are you getting that? What is this reaction? What is this enzyme and all? So that's why I'm telling you, I'm not going to start from the, directly all the pathways and all. Conceptually सीखिए. Now my student know very well where is Krebs cycle taking place. Mitochondria. Okay, no problem. Mitochondrial